using the method called, or commonly called, Xbox. We're starting a brand new lesson, and although this is review, this is extremely relevant to this unit. Notice that I've labeled this unit as 4, and I've clearly put a title. Before you do anything else, copy down the unit, the title, and the model problem. Now, once you've done that, read the problem to yourself and pause the video until you've done that. Daisy, did you actually read? You did. Okay. Let's continue then. Find the roots to this polynomial, x squared minus 7x plus 6. The first thing that I want to think about is how to set this up to be able to do that. Sometimes it's already apparent. Maybe you would see something like x plus 2 times x minus 1 equals 0. Find the roots of that. Well, you'd set both of these equal to 0, and you get x equals to a negative 2 and x equals to positive 1. So implicitly, when it says find the roots, we're going to have to find these factored terms and put this polynomial in factored form. So let's do that now using the method that we call Xbox. First, I need to make sure this is organized. Does this go from highest power to lowest power? Yes, it does. They usually look like that, but not always. Then I'll label it. I'll label this A, this B, and this C. Before you do anything else, label it as such. Have you actually labeled it? Okay, good. We draw this X. That's the first part of this factoring thing. And what we do here is we write, at this top, we write the thing A times C. A times C. What is A times C? A times C is this whole thing. So A is x squared times C is 6. So this is 6x squared. In the bottom, we simply write B, which is a negative 7x. So think to yourself, what have I done so far? Right, I've written A times C here and B here. Next, I have to do a little bit of thinking. I want something that will add, so I want two terms, these two terms, to add to be this guy. And I want two terms, the same two terms, to multiply. That's a multiply, not an x. That means multiply. To be that term. So think about what two terms would sum to be a negative 7x, but multiply to be 6x squared. Unpause the video when you've gotten that. Okay, who has those two terms? That's right. Very good. It's a negative 6x and a negative x. A negative 6x times a negative x is 6x squared. A negative 6x plus a negative x is a negative 7x. Now we've got to move on to the next step. We draw our box. Here's our box. Part of our box is already done for us. Every time, A will go in the box here, C will go in the box here. What goes here and here? These two terms we found. That was the whole point of x, was to find these two terms to fill up the rest of the box. See if you've understood what I've meant, and fill up the box. Only when you've filled in the box should you check your work. There you go. Now we're going to cover up half of this. And we're going to say, hey, on this column right here, what do both of these terms have in common? That's right. Both of these terms here have in common an x. Let's continue. Let's do it here. It doesn't matter which order I do it in. And it didn't matter which one I put here. It would work either way the same. So what do these two terms have in common? That's right. They also have just x in common. I'm going to go back over here. Now what does this term have that this term doesn't have? What does this term have that this term doesn't have? That's what you want to know. They're close, but not exactly the same. That's right. A -1 is what that term has, and this one doesn't have. And then over here, I asked the same question. What does this term have that this does not have? Good, a -6. The last step is to check. Maybe I screwed up. I don't know. So I multiply this times this, -1 times a -6, and make sure that it gives me that. That's right, it does give me that. Now I write this in factored form, x minus 6, x minus 1. Am I done? Wrong, I'm not done. I'm setting them equal to 0, and I'm finding, because it says find the roots, I'm finding the roots. So I set these both equal to 0. X minus 6 equals 0, x minus 1 equals 0. Have you gotten the roots? That's right. So over here, I'd write my roots out. X is equal to, this gives me a +1, this gives me a +6, and I'm done. Internalize that. Think through the method. Write down the summary of the method. Write down this practice problem, and only when you're done can you move on and check your work. Okay, that's right. Here is a checkpoint. That's how this is set up so far. Pause the video again, continue. Checkpoint. You should have figured out what added to be a -20t and what summed to be a -96t squared. And then you're putting them into the blanks. Just like so. To check your work here, you must completely have unpaused, have completely filled in your box. Then you can unpause and check. Move on to the next problem, right? Wrong. We haven't actually answered the problem. It says to solve. That's the same thing as finding the roots. So we're not just factoring for no reason, we're factoring to find the roots. So make sure you've done that. Have you done that? Have you actually done that? Find the roots. Voila, here they are. Here's my factored form. Here are my roots once I've solved for t. I've got one more practice problem for you. I call it advanced. It'll either be intuitive or not, so we'll see. Good luck. To be listening right now, that means you've already found the factored form and you've already found the x-intercepts. Do not watch any more until you've done so. Okay, nothing actually works in this problem. Some problems aren't factorable. So in this case, although there are solutions, these aren't factorable solutions. So let's do a different problem instead. You ready? There it is. There's your separate problem. Now go ahead and start it and finish. The new version of the problem, go ahead and check your work. That's right. Right now I have x squared minus 9 times x squared minus 1 equals 0. I'm actually not done. There's still this and this to be factored. How? Well, it's something we've talked about before. We've talked about this several times. This is called difference of squares. As something squared minus something can be written as a squared. So let's write it as a square. X squared minus 9 is what squared? 3 squared. X squared minus 1 is what squared? No. Yes, it's just 1 squared. It's the same exact idea. And so the way we can write this is x plus 3 times x minus 1. And the way that we write this part is, well, this part is x squared minus 3 squared. So that's x plus 3, x minus 3. I got ahead of myself. This part is x plus 1, x minus 1. That whole thing's equal to 0. It's an equals. Now find all 4 roots, and we're done with this. Good. Negative 3, negative 1, 1, and positive 3.